reflection of my dream. We must have been dreaming the same.
Good evening, and you are here at IntellectualRadio.com with Zimra and Ed, which is my better half. And first, we're going to start off by saying that we are going to ask you, we know that you got out and voted today, and that we winded up really and truly, we winded up having more early voters than the voters originally.
Last cycle had more early voters than the total amount last.
Now that's awesome.
I was an early voter.
Yes.
I was too. We're taking care of business, but we are so excited. We're going to jump right into it because we always know that when we have this lady of the hour, Dr. Stephanie Coleman, joining us, that there is always something positive, uplifting, and something good to talk about. And so we're going to talk about gratitude and forgiveness and how it can actually change your life. And that's what Stephanie is going to talk about today. We are so glad you came back, and we're going to hopefully we can get her back where this can be a 2-week series where she'll come back and join us next week because she's working on some exciting things as always. Sometimes when you don't see or hear a lot from her, you can best assure that she's working on something great and wonderful. So Stephanie, where have you been? What have you been doing? I know some great stuff. You mentioned that you're working on another great book.
Yes, I am working on what would be book number 4.
Wow.
So, the manuscript was finished, early part of the year. And then those kinds of things are just exhausting for me. So finally, my girlfriend said, you know what, you really need to get the book to market. I don't know what you're waiting for. So we finished the cover design, which is absolutely gorgeous.
I know.
And then we'll look at the layout this month and get a book to market probably in the middle of December or the 1st of January. So for those of you who are looking for great gifts to give someone on how to change your life, that would be the one. The name of the book is Creating a Masterpiece from a Master Mess. And I modeled it from my life because my life at one time was a master mess.
Well, that sounds like a little of everybody has master mess. We started out.
I had a mess.
Say the name of it again, Stephanie. I love that.
Creating a Masterpiece from a Master Mess.
Wow.
Go ahead.
So
That's
yes,
nice.
I was the true master mess at one point. And I used everyday principles that we were taught growing up, but we have a tendency to overlook them because we don't think that they work anymore. Because when you look at everything over the internet, they say it doesn't work. But these are the principles that I use to change my life, to go from, as I write in the book, to go from homeless to hopeful, and to go from financial debt to financial independence.
Wow.
And they work. And because I didn't have money and I didn't have any place to live, I had to use things that didn't cost anything. And none of these techniques cost you a dime to use, but they yield beyond anything you could think would come true. It is just amazing.
Are these overlooked principles that seem so obvious that people don't use them anymore?
Well,
some don't know how. I think they don't know.
They don't know how. People try to use them, but they don't know how to use them.
Right.
And then they don't know how often you use them. And people still are expecting something magical to occur after you use them. But none of it that occurs, none of the changes are magical. The changes sort of ease into your life, sort of like that comfortable bed that you get in. It doesn't say, well, I'm comfortable. Right. Here I am.
Right.
You just suddenly realize that it's comfortable. So, and what begins to happen is when people talk about the principles and how they change their life, people often ask, well, what was the point? At what point did you know your life was changing? And there is no one point.
No.
It is an ease into it, which makes it really nice. It does have something, it requires something for you. You have to start saying yes to the intuitions that you get in the inner. You do have to start saying yes.
Mind.
Right. You have to say yes. You have to stop saying no all the time, because nothing can change if you're always saying no to it. So you do have to trust something outside of yourself.
So what was the inspiration? I know you had a lot of inspiration, but what finally put in your mind, I need to write this book about my life. About
Well, that part,
about
because you
the
know
basic
she's written
principles.
4, or this is her fourth
Already,
one.
right.
Well, as you all know, I do a lot of workshops that have to deal with money. Ignite Your Inner Millionaire. And people are actually, and I deal with money, but I actually deal with the behaviors that are keeping you broke more than anything. Because money in itself is easy to create.
Yeah.
It is that those behaviors that have been learned that are hard to let go of. So people started asking, what did you do to get financially independent? What was your big secret? And I wrote a column recently. The title of it was The Big Secret, right? It's not a secret. There's no special sauce. There's no secret sauce. It's things that we do. So as I started to write them, I remembered some of the things that I learned, that if you have any blocks in your life, health, financial blocks, you have a lot of forgiveness to do. And that's the piece that people aren't willing to look at, because it's easy for us to say who did us wrong. But the flip side of that is,
Who did you do wrong?
who did you do wrong?
That's right.
I didn't do anything. And what do you mean it's easy to make money? I am. How come I'm still broke?
Because first off, you called it broke. You named it. You got to stop giving
And
things
you know
negative
she
names.
don't give it that
That's right. You got to
bad.
stop that. So,
Exactly.
having a financial challenge is different from being broke.
Okay.
So if you're having a cash flow challenge, when you say I'm having a cash flow challenge, that sounds like that's something you can resolve.
So this has a positive spin.
It has let's talk about the
Hopeful.
energy. It has a hopeful feel to it.
Okay.
But I'm broke.
So why would
That has no hope in it at all.
don't admit that
right.
to your subconscious mind?
Because you're never broke.
Right. You just think you are.
There is something in your life that is working financially. Something. And you may not be able to look at a bank account to see, but if you're maintaining positive employment, that's something. If you are able to, if you're in a house, if you have a roof over your head. So you have to start to look at what is working in your life and not what's working in your life.
And that's where the gratitude
And that's
comes
where the
in.
gratitude comes in.
Count your blessings.
And it's a little more than count your blessings. So I sort of believe that gratitude needs to be put on steroids, just like forgiveness. So one of the techniques in forgiveness, so it's really easy to say, I forgive so-and-so for slamming that door on me or for getting me in trouble and forgetting that. I forgive so-and-so, okay? And after you go through this whole list of who you need to forgive that has harmed you, then you have to flip the script and go through the things that you have done that has harmed others. Nothing comes to you accidentally. Everything is a lesson that you need to learn. And sometimes, if you were like me, I couldn't learn the small lessons, the easy lessons. I wasn't listening. So I needed the cosmic 2x4 to come in and tell me that I needed to look at how I was handling my finances. So that ended up in bankruptcy, that ended up in homelessness, because that was the only way. So the message came to me at the level of my ability to pay attention. Some people need a beat down before they pay attention. Okay. So you do have to learn to listen to the small lessons that happen. So for instance, I teach that the first month that you cannot pay your credit card debt in full, that message from the universe that you need to change how you are handling and allocating your money.
So it takes an admission of yourself at one point. It says, I'm doing this wrong.
Yes. Or I can do this better.
I can do this better. That's a better way of putting it.
Right. What I'm doing now is not working for me. That's not negative. That doesn't feel bad. It's just not working for you. Okay. So I need to figure out what works for me. And that's the question you need to ask yourself. How is it working for you? And you start by, are your credit card bills paid in full every month? The answer is no. How you're allocating your money isn't working for you. Are you saving 10%? Do you have 10% going into a retirement fund? Are you able to live out of 70% of your money? Are you tithing 10%? And if the answer to those questions are no, something isn't working for you. Do you have 9 to 12 months worth of expenses saved? And the answer is no, something isn't working. So you have to look at what's not working for you. So I tell people first to look at how your money, go to 90 days in your bank account, back 90 days, and categorize how you have allocated your funds and figure out what's out of control.
I can hear a person out there saying, like, I don't have any of that working for me. Where do I start?
Okay. And then I want you to start with forgiveness, and I want you to find some quiet space. And we seem to be afraid of quiet space these days because we think our thoughts will attack. They will not attack. They just reveal. They don't
You
attack.
need to listen.
Right. And you need to listen. So you sit down and you think about and make a list of 2 lists you're going to make. First one is the things that you felt were done to you that harmed you. Make that list. And then forgive each and every one of those people. Now, people say, well, there's some things I can't forgive. Okay, that's fair. So I want you to ask yourself, when will you be willing to forgive that thing? And your subconscious will tell you. It'll say, I need 90 days to get over that. So then you say, okay, I'll forgive that in 90 days. And you don't even have to write the 90 days down because the subconscious will remember. And in 90 days, something will happen that help you remember that you need to forgive that.
Because you heard yourself say it.
Exactly, because you heard yourself say it, right? So you go down the list and you forgive absolutely everything. You forgive it. Now, where we get confused in forgiving is people think that means forget. I am not saying that if you were in a relationship that was terrible and you forgave it, that you need to go back and go out to dinner. I'm not saying revisit it. What I'm saying is forgive it for you, because in order for the unforgiveness to affect you, that means you're staying in it. And every moment you stay in it is a moment that you're losing where you could be out taking the steps necessary to live your dreams. That person cannot stay in an unforgiveness prison unless you're there watching the door.
That's right.
So you're actually in prison.
You are in prison with them, both of you all. And chances are that person doesn't even know that you're angry. They're out living their life. They have no idea.
And you're all been out of
shape because you remembered something somebody said about something you had on or something you didn't do right that happened 20 years ago.
Right.
And they don't even remember they said it.
That's why I don't like them today.
Right. I remember I had a close relative that used to say, God, I don't like them because when they said this. And I said, well, when did they say that? And that's another question you have to ask yourself. When did this happen? And the person said, oh, gosh.
They couldn't even hardly
50 years ago. And I said, well, don't you think it's time you let that go?
You still carrying that around with you?
You're still carrying it around with you. So you have to do that. So ask yourself, how long ago did this happen? Another thing that you have to ask yourself, which may be considered a trick question, is it true? We do not get upset about things people say to us or about us that we know are not true.
At least you shouldn't.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. You just say they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They don't know what they're talking about. And you don't think about that thing again.
But
That's right.
Yeah. But if any of that they said resonates with you,
exactly,
makes sense.
It's because somewhere on some level, there's some truth to what they said.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it good, doesn't make it bad. It just makes it is. So deal with the truth that resonates with you. Forgive them, forgive yourself, and move on. Okay.
Right.
And if it comes back in your mind again, keep telling it to move on. So,
because the forgiveness, like you said, it's for you. It's not even for the other person.
No, it's not. And it is possible to forgive them if they're not alive, not on this earth plane anymore, because it is for you. And that's the only way you're going to be able to break that invisible spiritual cord between you and that person is forgive. That cuts the cord.
Well, that's something that people don't really understand or been taught, that forgiveness is for you and not for the other person. If I forgive them, they're off the hook. It's not for them. It's basically just for you.
Exactly. It's for you so you can get off the hook and live your life. Okay. What they do with it, they don't even have to know about it. There's no need to tell them. That's the best thing about forgiveness is you do not have to go around saying, oh, I forgave you for that.
don't
It's
have
not
to know
necessary.
either.
They don't have to know.
It's not for them.
Stephanie,
in the
let
first
me
place.
ask you a question that and Edward and I was talking about. Now, you spoke about homelessness. What makes a person stick into that? As to you see all these people on the street, and it's like you can get a job, you can do something else. What makes them just do that?
Well, according to some of the latest statistics, the Surgeon General several an administration ago said that 1 out of 10, if not more, 1 out of 5, are suffering from some type of mental illness. So,
Okay.
be it extreme bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. So, a lot of them are not out there because they want to be out there. A lot of them are out there because of the mental illness.
Okay.
And with some mental illnesses, there's a lot of distrust. Several years ago, the federal government has always allotted money for mental health care. But then at some point, the states were given the authority to use those dollars the way they wanted to use those dollars. So a lot of those treatment facilities
I
closed,
know.
and the ability to get to medication became
People wanted to go on the
impossible.
street.
So they end up on the street because they just don't have anything else to go. Now, some of the university hospitals now are doing some experiments. University of Chicago, University of Illinois in Chicago, and I think Rush Hospital is where they have what they discovered. It was in their emergency rooms, a large number of homeless people with diseases that are treatable, but diseases that are a result of living on the street. So they've created these like SROs where they treat them, teach them skills, and keep them with their meds. And they have found that they're beginning to thrive, and now they're able to hold jobs and functions.
Okay.
Some of them have addiction problems, and some of them have addiction problems that are coupled with mental health problems. So it's not as simple as someone who just won't work. There are a lot of things. They can't work. They don't have the mental capacity to hold the job. So they need other care. So, they need food right now when they're on the street and shelter, but there's no other place for them to go. They're not.
And I always try and give when I see them, but I just was wondering
Mhm.
about them being stuck. That's got to be it's got to be pretty rough.
Now, if you believe that there are no mistakes in the universe, that everything is here for a reason to teach us, could it possibly be that that's the universe's way of making
Going back
sure
to the
that we
gratitude.
show compassion to others
Yes.
who don't have as much as we have? So it could be a lesson in compassion for us.
Well, that sounds like just by basically everything in life is there to teach you what
Right.
you need to know,
Right,
and you only know unless you have a challenge.
right,
And once you get the challenge, then you can practice on that. He says, I need to teach you compassion, so I'm going to give you a situation where you have to be compassionate towards someone. So I'll send you someone who needs compassion.
right.
So that's how you will learn it, because you've been challenged with it. So it's not as bad as you think. It's a lesson that you need to learn, and you'll keep getting that challenge until you learn it.
And then we can take it a little further to activism, some of which is happening in California, where the citizens have actually forced the state to create SROs for some of the homeless population and pay for them and make sure that they get the medication that they need and the training that they need. And that's helped a lot in California.
For those out there who don't know, what's SRO?
It's a single residence where it's almost like a dorm. They get their own bed, like a studio.
Oh, wow.
Beds, they get like a studio. So they have their own place to stay. They're taught to be responsible, and physicians visit them regularly so they can get their medications.
That's what an intelligent society does to those who are less fortunate. So they would have access to at least shelter if it be representative of your civilization. They have people on the street, which is actually a slap against your administration or the people as a whole.
As society as a whole, because I think that we all, at some point, we began to believe that everyone can pick themselves up by their bootstraps. But what happens when they don't have any boots? And we need to become activists. Find something that you're passionate about and start to contact your representative to make sure that they know that that's what you're interested in, and give them suggestions also along with it. And if you contact them I mean, literally, you can craft an email and attachments with your suggestions and make sure you forward weekly.
Well,
They'll
that's
get
a
tired.
great
They'll
idea.
get tired of you being in their
Exactly.
box, and so one of those nice little interns
Gonna
will
get
pick
you
it
a
up
response.
and get you a response and start looking into it. But we have to do something on this level, just like voting today. We have to do our part. No longer can we sit back and expect somebody to take care of the things that we believe are important in our
That's
society.
right for us.
Right
That's
for us. So we need to do that.
That's just like waiting on Jesus to come back.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I had to say it because
I know. It's like, okay, right.
somebody asked, because I had a friend of mine tell me that, because they believe that, everything's gonna be all right with Jesus. I said, he's been there already. He come back for you. He said, shoot.
Right. We were sent. Okay. So, and I think all of the ascended masters in Jesus Christ are never left, so there's no coming back too.
Right.
There's like still here.
Right.
So if you don't believe it, just ask them that, just ask, what do I do next? You'll get an answer immediately.
Right.
Just don't say no to it
Right.
after you've asked for it.
Right.
So they're not coming back because they're already here. We have everything we need. We have given up our responsibility in hopes that someone else will take care of what we think is what's near and dear to our heart, and do it the way we want to do it. And we see that that's not happening. So it's time for us to use our voices.
That's
it's time
right.
for us to get up off of our spiritual feet, wherever you have your spiritual feet.
That's right.
Metaphysical, Baptist, Catholic, wherever your spiritual feet are. Doesn't matter. Get up and make sure that the legislatures and that we pay their salaries and for their great insurance and great retirement, make sure they do things that we want to see done.
And that we can benefit.
That we can
That's
like the homelessness populations, like food deserts. There are things where we need clear solutions.
So we can really feel the essence of gratitude.
Right.
Because
So-
we're affected by it.
And fight. But if we would take that gratitude principle even today and work the gratitude and look at everything that we have to be grateful for. So sometimes we just stop at, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful that I have a place to live. I'm grateful that I have food on the table. But how about when you're grateful that you have food on the table, that you're grateful for the grocery store or the person that allowed you to walk in and get the food, and the people who actually grew the food, and the people who actually picked and harvested the food, and the people who actually took it to the store so you could have the single convenience of going in, picking up a head of cabbage out of the produce section and going to the checkout line and pay for it. There's a whole string of things behind that to be grateful
And
for.
grateful for the person to pick up your trash after you get through using your product.
Exactly. Right. And the recycling that goes on, and grateful for the people who come up with the great ideas as to how to recycle the trash so that we can repurpose it. So
That's
there's
right.
waste. So there's so many things that we have to be grateful for, and people want to stop with those one or two things. And when in your gratitude, and if gratitude is hard for you, get a picture of something you love or someone that you love that makes you feel good about things.
What would make a person not have a problem with gratitude?
Oh,
though?
because we take a lot for granted.
I agree.
Okay, we take a lot for
So
granted.
true.
So we get up in the morning and we go to the car and we take for granted that the car is going to start. And if the car doesn't start, we have a major meltdown because this car didn't start, and now you have to take it to the shop. Instead of thanking the car for like giving you the best years, because you didn't change the oil or check the transmission fluid, okay?
That's right.
You didn't look at the tires and rotate the tires. You didn't do that, right? You just got in that car and you just drove. And when those brakes went, you just ignored it, okay? Gotta get right on go. That's right. Turn the radio up so you couldn't hear it anymore. So all those things you need to be grateful for. And then
That's
at the
right.
time that the car has to go to the shop, start being grateful for the fact that you're going to have enough money to pay for it. It's going to be within your budget. It's going to work out. And you pay your way through life with gratitude. And there is a lot to be grateful for.
So you reduce your frustrations and disappointments by expecting the best of everything.
Right.
And be grateful for what you have instead of what you don't have.
Right. And if something turns out contrary to what you were hoping, ask yourself, what good is in there? You got to see the good.
Always.
Because if you believe that the divine presence of God is present, it's present everywhere.
Even in the bad stuff.
Even in what you call it bad. Is it really bad?
Again, it might be a lesson.
Because it could have been a bad accident about to happen at the same time. You would have been at that intersection, and then that would have been the end for you. That could be why that car didn't start.
That's why you were late.
Because I've said that before. I said, well, maybe I don't need to be going that way right now. I have said that. We're going to take a short pause for the cause. We're here at IntellectualRadio.com with Dr. Stephanie Coleman. We'll be back shortly here at IntellectualRadio.com.
We be deep.
I think of you so often. You're steadily on my mind. You absorb my very being. You're my world. You're the song. Our love is very precious. It's definitely a gift. Wherever we go, to all we know, we give a lift. That's our love, baby. Loving you is sweet as your kiss. Ooh. Sweet, sweet, sweet as your kiss. Kiss, kiss. Loving you, baby, is sweet. Sweet as your kiss. You make my world go round and round. When you smile, you light up a room. Our bodies close are so in tune. I can't imagine life without you. You're a dream come true. That's how you, baby. Loving you.
We're back here at IntellectualRadio.com with the lovely Dr. Stephanie Coleman, and we're talking about gratitude and forgiveness. And how you live your life is very, very important. To be grateful and to understand the essence of forgiveness. So, Ed, you were asking Dr. Coleman.
Yeah, it crossed my mind to get some idea of how long does it take a person to
we have a call
to acquire the realizations, these skills, in order to become financially independent.
Okay, Ed, we have a caller.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I'll answer that question.
Hello, caller. Oh, did I cut him off? Okay.
So starting to practice these principles and the turnaround time really depends upon how faithful you are in practicing these principles. And the forgiveness piece is huge. Now you do have to find a method in which resonates with you to forgive. So
caller.
Yes.
Hi, and thank you for calling in. This is Imra, and we have Dr. Coleman. Who's our caller?
This is AJ from Northside.
Oh, okay.
I'm enjoying this conversation, and I wanted to ask a real quick question. You was talking about gratitude and forgiveness earlier. What is it when you find it hard to forgive when you're faced with a person or you see them every day, that individual that got under your skin, he did you wrong or so like that, but you want to move on, but when you see them, you're reminded of that incident.
Okay, the first thing you need to understand is until that situation is forgiven, you're never going to move on. You're stuck there. So what I would suggest you do is find some small thing that you like about that person. No one is three-dimensional. There's nobody that we hate 100% of. There's one or two little things that we like about them. Find something that you like about that person and dwell on that. The other stuff that happens is happening to you because there's some belief that you have that the universe is trying to get you to deal with. Okay, things come to us at the level in which we pay attention. So when people are in your face doing these things, you need to ask yourself, first off, what's the good in this? What am I to learn from this? What is here for me to learn? And as minute you learn your lesson, the situation will dissipate. You won't have to do anything. It will disappear. But you have got to learn your lesson, because if you don't, then another situation will keep appearing and keep appearing. So if you look back over your life, it may not be this person you need to forgive, but what I need you to do is to think of the feeling that you're experiencing. Then I need you to close your eyes and go back to a time where you felt the feeling before, not the situation, but the feeling, because this situation will change clothes and change genders until it gets your attention. And follow that feeling back as early in your life as possible. And then look at that situation, because that's what you need to forgive. Today is just a reminder that you've got some work to do from way back when that you still need to forgive. And forgive that. And then this one will just kind of fade away. And you'll be sitting there wondering, well, what happened? Everything is going really well now.
Okay.
It's like a little self-analysis.
Right. It is. See, because what happens is it's that feeling. So maybe what you're really reacting to is when people tend to react to it something when they were 5, 6, 8, or 10, when they were told that, they're not good, they're not trustworthy, they're stupid and whatever. And then you don't forgive that. You just internalize that because that came from somebody you trusted. Then you find yourself 30, 40 years down the road saying things like, God, you're disrespecting me. What's going on? So where did that feeling of disrespect first occur? Because that's what has to be healed.
Wow, I love that.
Right. This person is just a messenger.
Wow.
So when one of your values are challenged or crossed or damaged by that person, you go, I have to reevaluate my value?
No, you need to go back in your experiences to see when your values were first challenged, because that's what's happening. There's something there from way back that you need to forgive. Now, there is a technique that I like to use called the journey, where you can use the journey and you can use your imagination and think back, carry you back to when this first happened. Because after so many years, not only is it still in your mind, but it's in your body somewhere too now, because these unforgiveness things will cause health problems like you would not believe. And we can go to that area and find out what it is. So just remember the feeling. Don't remember the incidents, just the feeling. Focus on the feeling and take that feeling back. Do you remember this feeling last year, 2 years ago, 2000, 1999? When did that feeling occur? And write down all of those instances when you felt that. And then work your way back to forgiveness in every one of those instances. And this one will disappear. Because it has nothing really to do about what it is now, but evidently you've asked the universe to help you achieve something, and the universe is saying to you, you cannot achieve that until you correct this thing. This thing is standing in the way of what you want to achieve. This experience from way back. I'm sorry.
I'm familiar with that technique, and thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in. Have a good evening.
Go get him.
Now that is really, and that makes so much sense, because so many times we have been wounded from when we were growing up. And then if you don't really re-examine that, you wonder, well, why am I going through the things that I go through?
That sounds like when most of your problems occur when you're young and more impressionable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. So your whole character and personality is developed during your young age.
And your values, as the caller said, are developed during those age. All of those that's developed right there.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And if you don't recognize that, then you continue to go through the things that you go through.
You know, a lot of us have a tendency not to want to go back, especially to a painful period in life. That where we first got that pain from, we don't want to do it because it's painful to do that.
So here's a take. So you sit down with a piece of paper and you just start to write. I am experiencing pain because I feel like my values have been, in this instance, my values have been violated. You write. Don't stop writing. And you will get to whatever it is. It may be pages later, but you will get to whatever it is. And the minute you are able to just simply admit it, shine light on it,
you'll know.
It takes care of itself. Because you can say that, because you know more now.
It dies in the light.
It dies in the light. Exactly.
Wow.
Well,
tell us some more about your book.
So in the book, there's 6 chapters, 6 tools that I use to change my life, and forgiveness and gratitude are just 2 of them. There is visualization, and I have techniques about visualization and techniques for people who can't visualize, because there are actually some people who do not have the ability to visualize. Okay. I talk about staying in the moment, how to stay present in this moment, no matter what's happening. Not hosting pity parties. And if you're going to host a pity party, you get to host one, and you get to make sure it's the biggest pity party ever. Have good time. I suggest champagne or chocolate martinis. Okay. The music you love, and set a time, and then get over that.
Get over
it. And then planning for success.
Okay. We have another caller. Good evening, caller. We're here at Intellectual Radio with Dr. Stephanie Coleman.
What's your question?
Hi, I am really enjoying this conversation. I'm enjoying. I was watching it online for a minute, in between the elections and everything. And I guess what you're saying, Dr. Coleman, is absolutely true about forgiveness. We were having some conversations earlier today, and about our current presidential administration. And and I was telling some buddies of mine that, look, you got to let that go. And the way that you can let it go is to get out there and vote.
Right.
Because one of the things that you talk about forgiveness, but forgiveness without some type of action is just a mute point. It's just, it's like running, standing still.
That's right.
You're not getting anywhere fast. And I'm listening to what you're saying, Dr. Coleman, and you're hitting upon all these points. And it kind of reminds me of my question to you, though, is that I've been practicing this technique by Emmett Fox called the Golden Key. How does that forgiveness tie into the Golden Key, or can they work interspersed with each other?
Actually, they are the same, or can be used as the same. So the Golden Key technique is a technique that Emmett Fox crafted in like 1931. So imagine that, right? I remember when I discovered Emmett Fox in the late 80s, I didn't know people wrote in 1931 about this. So here I thought I was on the precipice of this new stuff, and then I found out I was late, right? Been out, decades. So the Golden Key has you to focus on something, let's say positive. So if you find some positive affirmation that makes you feel good, okay? Mine happens to be, I have unshakable faith in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life, for God is in absolute control. That works for me. That gets it for me. I don't care what's happening. I could be in the middle of a fire, no way out, leg on fire, hair singed. That works for me, okay? Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking, we think about the things that are wrong with our life. And the reason we do that is because negative emotions vibrate harder in the brain, whereas positive ones sort of dissipate. They relax. That's why you need a gratitude list. So you can write down 3 of the 5 things a day that you're grateful for. So when you're feeling like he done me wrong, you can go to this list and realize, oh no, life has been doing you pretty good. This is just a hiccup. So you keep this. So you think about, let's say you don't have enough money and you need money. Okay. So instead of thinking about you need money, you switch your thoughts to this prayer statement. Okay. It can be simple. I trust in God. It can, whatever you like. Okay. You switch it to this prayer statement, and you do that every time. So what begins to happen is you keep your mind off of the issue. You stay in the moment. Okay. You keep your mind off the issue and you go to this prayer statement. And what happened is all the universal power, because God heard you the first time. Okay. Doesn't need repeating. He heard you the first time. And he already knew.
In other words, you ain't got to beg.
Right. You don't have to beg. And already knew that you wasn't going to do what they told you to do because you said no to that. Right. So that way it gives the universe an opportunity to work. You're not putting any more negative energy into that thing. So now it can be resolved and dissolved. You just have to be open to how the universe works it out for you, because that's where you don't want to say no. So get a positive statement. Stay in the moment. Okay. Stay in what's working right with your life. And even if you have to say, Stephanie, remember, you've turned this one over to God. God does not need your help. Stop playing junior God. Okay. And then you go on and it's going to come back, because that's what it does. Because for some reason, our brain gets joy out of all these ups and downs.
Yeah.
And you just keep it switching over. So that keeps you staying in the moment. When you're staying in a moment, then you are grateful. Maybe you stay in the moment by finding something to be grateful for. Maybe you stay in the moment by being mindful with your breath. Whatever works for you, and you know what works for you.
So it makes you practice.
It makes you practice, yes.
Well, I love
All right,
that.
so how does that tie into forgiveness? You know, if there's a person, a place, a situation, a circumstance that I need to forgive in order to move on, I've applied the golden key so that I'm no longer thinking about that person, but somewhere in the back of my mind, you know, because thoughts take on their own life. So how do I dissipate that? How do I eliminate that? You know, because the thought is an energy, and energy cannot be destroyed.
That's right. A thought is an energy, and energy does not destroy. But however, energy can be transformed, and you can vibrate on a higher level than the problem. So you're right.
Transform.
So you're going to transform it. You're not going to try to eliminate that. It's out there. Okay. So now you're going to transform it. You're going to transform it with forgiveness. And when you do forgiveness, you have to do it both ways. You have to forgive so-and-so for, I don't know, stealing the job I was supposed to have. I forgive you for that, right? And then you have to say, anybody that I've caused any harm, I'm asking that you forgive me. And then you have to say, I forgive myself, you forgive yourself, and we are forgiven through this forgiving power of the divine, and all is well. It's done.
You know, all that sounds very good, but you hit on the point that's really caused me a lot of questions about this forgiving yourself. Can you expound upon that?
Okay, so we do things that we know we should not have done. All of us do. Okay. And at the time, it really sounded like a good idea or felt like a good idea. But you know, you go back in there and you say, you know what, I could have been kinder, right? I could have lent them I could have given them $5. You know, oh God, did I have to be that mean? You know, those kinds of things. Yeah. Forgive yourself for those things. Forgive yourself for those things, because I think we're fooling ourselves if we think that we're just a lightning rod that's standing there and people can cause us harm. It's going both ways. Carolyn Miss says that the power is when you do it two ways. Okay. You forgive people for causing you harm, hurt, injury in this lifetime or any lifetime, past, present, or future. And I forgive myself
for the things
that I've done, and ask the people to forgive you. And a lot of times sometimes we don't even know we hurt other people. Just like the people who hurt us probably don't know that we realize that they hurt us. But we've done things to hurt people and we don't realize it. Because not everybody's going to speak up. So you forgive yourself for that.
That's right.
All right, I got two more questions, and then I'm getting off there.
Yeah, because we're gonna be off there in a minute.
What is the reward to forgiveness? And two, when is the next time Jim in concert?
Oh, and sing "Sweet as a Kiss" because you just missed the best song in the world. Okay, all right. The reward for forgiveness and the reward for gratitude is what happens to you slowly is that your life just begins to work. It's just even. It begins to work. But as humans, you have to be careful not to get bored with this life that's getting to work. Sometimes, as but Eric Butterworth says, we get really bored with being peaceful. So we create these little spikes. We do something so we can get some excitement. But your life just begins to work. You will understand, you will understand the direction when it comes to you. You will understand it's something you need to say yes to. You will follow it knowing and it just work. I'm not saying that there won't be things that happen that you might want to say no to, because that happens to everybody. But you'll know enough at that point to be able to say, I really need to say yes to this, God, even though I'm saying yes, kicking and screaming, but I'm saying yes. And your life will begin to work. And then you don't have to work so hard. Things will come to you. I used to say that there are people who it seems like things just follow them. You just it's like every time you turn around, something good is happening to them, just follows them. And that's one of those people who are living in the moment, forgiving as they go, and remembering that they're grateful, even if they go out and the car doesn't start.
So when you put out those kind of positive vibrations, positivity kind of follows you around.
It follows you around, right?
It becomes attractive force.
Right. And we didn't answer your question. So the homelessness stint lasted for me about 90 days. It took 90 days to transform it. And then something magical happened after the 90 days. I moved to Chicago. I didn't have a job. I got here on a Sunday. It was snowing. I spent before that at least 20 years of my life in Florida, which it never snowed and it never got cold. And all of a sudden it's March and it's snowing. Okay. And it's 70 below zero. I didn't think that could happen in the world. Yeah. And so I didn't have a job. So, and then I had been told I couldn't collect unemployment, but that Monday Spirit says, well, go to the unemployment office. Went to the unemployment office. Lo and behold, I qualified for unemployment. Then I went to a temp agency. That Thursday they called and offered me a temp job for more money hourly than I had been making when I was in Florida.
Wow.
Okay. And then after I got tired of working temp, I said, well, God, I really do need something permanent, but if I got to work temp every day, I got to work temp every day. I got home. I said that on the beach. I was running down on Lake Michigan. Said that 7 o'clock. Got home at 8:30. My aunt says, some man has really been calling you, trying to find you about a job. Left the number. So I called him and he said, I had to go to the agency when we interviewed you before and didn't offer the job to figure out how to contact you. So I have a job for you. It's yours if you want it. I says, well, don't I have to interview? No, it's yours if you want it.
Oh,
and
wow.
I says, well, I think I should meet some people. So I went and met the vice president of the company that next day. And I said, well, what's salary? He says, how much do you want to make? What? Yes, he did. Yes.
Oh, talking about right following you.
Right. So it happened, and it took me from, I guess, about 6 or 8 weeks to go from temp to go to permanent.
So
wow.
Because you stayed
and then we
positive.
got 5 more minutes. So I want Stephanie to be able to tell where you can order her book, because that would make an awesome Christmas gift. Oh, that would make an awesome Christmas gift. I am going to be, for the caller, I'm going to be at Buddy Guy's on the 2nd of December during my holiday show, 5 to 8. The Louisiana cuisine is wonderful, and it's a nice spot. So it's 2 shows at 700 South Wabash on December 2nd. I want Stephanie to tell you, and we're going to have her back next Tuesday, 6 to 7, but tell us quickly about how they can order the book.
The book will be available on my website, champagneconnection.com. So keep checking there, but don't start checking there until about the first part of December.
Right.
Okay.
And you can just order it.
And you can right. And we'll put it. We will actually get it up this week so that you can order it from there, and then that we will fill your orders, and then I'll autograph every pre-order copy.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Well, I certainly want one.
Okay.
Yeah,
definitely.
Since most of us suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome, we all need that book.
That's
yes,
right.
Yes.
So we got Pit Life in the house. They're coming up next. Don't go nowhere. And then we have also, the awesome Katie Lowe that's here before us, 5 to 6. Always got a great guest and talking about positive things. So you're here at intellectualradio.com. Stephanie, we want to thank you. You are always so informative.
I just love you.
Uplift,
I just love you guys.
such upliftment, and you got to follow her rules. It will make your life. I mean, she's a living example.
It will change
when
your
you
life.
embrace life, life will certainly embrace you back. Remember, be grateful. Count your many blessings. It can always be worse, and always be positive and grateful for everything. Gratitude can change your life, and mainly forgiveness.
And forgive
That's
often.
key.
That's right.
Forgive
often.
She says forgive often. Make sure you do that.
And as always, I'd like to thank Earl and Wanda for letting me be myself again.
Good night. Stay tuned for Pit Life.
No more unrealistic arrangements. And I've had enough of going through changes. So here it is, so good it makes me wonder. Why did it take so long to find my thunder? I got it right this time.